We have yet to really dive into the story of dear Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati's. In our first part, we just read the cover, front and back, and we're going through some praises about this book just to wet your whistle. There are many wonderful praises, and I trust that of the ones we shared so far was enough to get us a feel for this book. I'll just read one more and then we can dive right into it. From Jonathan Granoff, the president of Global Security Institute, he writes that in Hollywood to Himalayas, we join a journey of a borderless and courageous heart that learns 3 treasures: becoming closer to the divine every day, serving humanity, and being happy. Sadhvi shares lessons of compassion and letting go learned from unflinchingly addressing abuse and suffering, lessons of extraordinary joy resulting from blessings of love and healing, insights of wisdom gained from modern and ancient disciplines of learning, guidance, and transmission from an authentic teacher/disciple relationship, an inspiration to keep learning and serving. The integrity and clarity of her account and assent is powerful and may rub off on the reader. If it does, you will not be the same. This is Hollywood to Himalayas. Fun fact, in Sanskrit, Himalaya comes from Hima, meaning snow, and Alaya, which means residence. So Himalaya means the residence of snow. This is a journey of healing and transformation. We start with a quote from Pujya Swamiji, whom I imagine we will be introduced to as the story goes on. In the West, you sit around in a dark room discussing the details of the darkness. You measure every molecule of darkness. How many protons, how many neutrons, how many electrons make up these atoms? How long has it been dark? From whence did this darkness come? Is it darker than it was yesterday? Or is it perhaps getting slightly less dark? You go around and discuss the way the darkness makes you feel. You encourage each other to express your frustration at sitting in a dark room. It goes on endlessly. In the East, we run our hands along the walls looking for the light switch. We know that once the switch is found and the light is turned on, it no longer matters how dark it was, or what the molecules of darkness was made of, or where the darkness came from. What matters is now there is light. There's a foreword. It was once said that people don't remember what you say to them, but they will always remember how you made them feel. From the first moment I was introduced to Sadhviji, she has always made me feel deeply loved and accepted. We met in the garden of the Paramarth Niketan Ashram in Rishikesh, one of the holy cities in India. It was an early spring afternoon 5 years ago, and we were surrounded by my traveling companions and a small film crew from Uplift, a conscious media organization I work with. We were making a documentary on the sacredness of water. At that time, I did not yet know of the profound, life-changing impact of the Ganges River, also known in Sanskrit as Ganga, as it had upon this American-born holy woman. Famous river system in India, and it runs just alongside Rishikesh. I will never forget the smile on her face when we met. Not only did her mouth and her eyes smile, it felt as if her heart was smiling directly at me. Just before sunset, Sadhvi Ji led our group to the steps on the banks of the river to participate in the daily arti ceremony, where a lamp is lit, with dozens of young boys in yellow robes surrounding her. Pujya Swamiji, her guru, began to sing ancient Hindu chants with tablas and harmoniums providing the bass line. At one point, a few of the young boys began handing over large brass lamps containing small flames. Sadhviji made sure I was given one to slowly raise in circles as part of the ritual. I was humbled and in awe of this beautiful ceremony, as I was wide-eyed and open-hearted. From that magical meeting, we quickly became good friends. We continue to meet up when we can, whether it is in India, Los Angeles, or Boulder, Colorado. And we've done several video conferences and webinars together. This book shares Sadhviji's remarkable story of leaving behind her privileged life in California to experiencing awakening, healing, and transformation in the Ganges to become a world spiritual leader. So often in spiritual circles there appears to be a certain priesthood or special type of person who is truly allowed in and accepted. In India, this is still mostly true. Even though she was once escorted off a stage for being the only female present among the religious leaders, Sadhviji generously and elegantly provides her wisdom and Shakti, energy, to all who come in contact with her. For me, Hollywood to the Himalayas is a spiritual tell-all. She tells everything, the ups, the downs, the stuff you'd never hear a person in her position express, from the dark details of her childhood abuse and trauma to her feelings of desire, to her experience as a woman even after taking vows of celibacy. Sadhviji shatters the myth that we need to be perfect and makes spirituality accessible, which is how it should be. God's grace is available to all no matter what you look like, where you come from, or any thoughts or actions of your past. That is the healing message of this book, to understand and to know that there is no recipe or perfect formula to connect to the divine. Sadhviji models for us at the deepest level that in the true teaching of the spiritual traditions, healing and grace are always possible. That was the foreword by Prince A. I don't know how to pronounce their name. It's literally the letters E-A. Yeah. Prince Ea. Someone will let me know, I'm sure. Alright. I know this is a bit of a longer reading, but I do want to hear Sadhviji's words, so I will just open with some of her writings of this prologue, and then we'll pause our reading there for now. The prologue is titled, Now There Is Light. In the summer of 1996, I opened my eyes at the end of my first darshan in India to hear Pujya Swamiji saying, Yes? Darshan is a Sanskrit word that means sight, a viewing presence. I was the last one in the room, and he addressed me in English. Yes? I rose quickly from my place, went in front of him and bowed low, trying to remember the protocol. Then I sat back on the soles of my feet and saw him looking at me, or rather, into me, with a love that seemed to permeate every cell of my body and every corner of my psyche. It was not a personal love, not directed at me, but a love so vast and available, it didn't matter how many others were swimming in it too. There was room for all. Yes, he repeated, I had nothing to say. I could have sat forever in the ocean of his gaze, but his eyes were waiting for me to speak. Pujya Swamiji, I whispered, fear runs my life. I have a sense of anxiety all the time, even when I don't know what I'm afraid of. You fear because you don't trust, he said after a brief pause. I thought he would continue, but he didn't. Just that. Lack of trust. Really horrible things have happened to me that have made me unable to trust. And I told him the full story of my 25 years, childhood sexual abuse and abandonment, struggles with bulimia, for which I was hospitalized several times. It was a story I'd told many times, and it never failed to elicit sympathy, open arms, and praise for how strong I am. He just looked at me and asked, "Are you going to take this to the grave with you?" Oh God, no, I thought. Of course not. Are you going to let it go on your deathbed, just before you die? No, of course, I replied. I don't want to take this unbearable pain to my deathbed, which was surely 6 or 7 decades away. Will you let it go a week before you die? A month before you die? He continued to ask, never shifting his gaze from its lock on my heart. Swamiji, I don't want to take this to my grave or my deathbed. I don't want to hold on to it until a week or a month before I die. I want to be free of it as soon as possible. I'm in therapy with a wonderful psychologist. I'm processing it all so I can heal and move on with my life. He continued to look at me calmly, with neither sympathy nor judgment. His presence stretched so wide, it was able to hold the love that poured from his eyes, the pain I'd experienced, and even the perpetrator, my biological father. In his gaze, there was room for everything. Then he said, "You are waiting for someone to come and draw the line for you. You are waiting for someone to come and say, 'Now you are done.' But no one will do that. You must draw the line yourself. The choice is yours. You can carry this pain to the grave. You can give it up on your deathbed. You can give it up a week or a month before you die. Or you can give it up tonight." Tonight? Seriously? I didn't speak. But he must have heard my thoughts. "Yes, tonight," he said. "We have a beautiful ceremony at sunset called the Arti. I will tell the priest to give you the oil lamp so you can wave it and pray with it. Then go to Ganga and give her your pain. Take her water in your hands and give it all to her. Just give it to the river. If you give it, she will take it." He patted me gently on the head as he stood and walked out of the room. Only as the door clicked shut behind him did I remember to bow. "Just give it to the river," I wrote over and over in my journal, smiling as I replayed in my mind the Swami's touching yet nonsensical instructions. Fortunately, I was being treated by doctors and psychologists who knew what to do. Abreactive therapy, extended trance-like regressions back to the abuse, behavior modification techniques that made even the simple task of eating into work, and the passage of time. These were answers to my pathology. I wasn't about to rely on a river to wash away my problems. And let's pause our reading of Hollywood to Himalayas there for now. So thank you for listening to such a provoking introduction by Saraswati herself. And that's right, dear Gregorji. Saraswati, incidentally, is also a river. She is the river of spiritual knowledge that flows from the divine through everyone. Baptism of light. Saraswati herself, Saras means a pool of water, and Vati meaning she who possesses. So Saraswati means she who possesses a pool of water. But that Saras, that pool, is also identified with all of the words that can be spoken, all of the songs that can be sung, all of the art pieces that can be made. That Saras is the source for expression. And so Saraswati is regarded as the goddess of language, of art, of knowledge, of divine expression. So, thank you. I'll pause our exploration of that there for now. Namaste.